Thank you, and I want to thank members of the committee for their time and for their service. I want to thank you and the legislature for giving us flexibility over the last few years that truly has made a difference in our case, because we now have a 10-year budget plan. We know how many students we will be admitting. We know how many faculty we will be hiring, how many professional staff we will be hiring, and truthfully, it's because of the flexibility that the legislature has given us in setting tuition after range. So I'll come back to that topic. I know that was a topic of the conversation earlier. I'm going to be very brief because I know that you've heard a lot, and really we intend not to be redundant. In terms of our profile, I want to say that I don't want to give you the numbers. I'd like to say that we get it. We understand that we have to be part of the solution. We understand that we need to be very, very focused and intentional with the utilization of the public's resources, and I'm prepared to explain that during the course of the questions and the conversations. But our profile, its central highlight is our diversity, 65% Hispanic, 13% African American. We are larger, about 82% from South Florida. We're very proud of the fact that we can serve the South Florida area and address the many challenges that our community faces. In terms of STEM, I would suggest that the key to STEM is focusing on the grassroots. Focusing on the grassroots from the viewpoint of more intense and intentional relationships with the school system, K through 12, understanding that the curriculum needs to be transformed by the faculty, and then setting up measurement standards for that. And I would like to explain that in a moment. In terms of general education, simplification, in my mind, is critical. Our university is challenged in particular in terms of curriculum because fully half of our graduates are transfer students. About half of those transfer students come from community colleges. Others just transfer in because it's Miami and it's a dynamic economy. So that in many ways, during graduation, when one sits at graduation and watches the flow of students go across, there's really 3 or 4 FIU degrees. Those that come about as a consequence of those who are FTICs, those who come through the transfer process of 2+2 through the state college system, those who transfer in from other universities, either in Florida or elsewhere, in particular internationally, and then those adult learners who have decided that they must come back to the institution. I want to highlight one adult learner who we were blessed to have just recently, a gentleman who earned his PhD at 87 years old. He started when he was 80 with his, and started studying to get his doctoral degree, and he graduated just a few months ago, 87 years old, Richard M. Smith. Not just any 87-year-old, but a World War II combat veteran. It was really an honor for us to be able to work with him, but that gives you a sense of the diversity. On research, FIU prides itself as a research university. In May 2011, the Chronicle of Higher Education featured FIU as an example of a university with a research growth strategy that has succeeded where many others have not. They said, in quote, "Perhaps less well known is a steady expansion of Florida International's research enterprise." And in August of 2011, the Chronicle reported that FIU had the biggest gain in federal funding for research and development between 1999 and 2009, about 164% increase. This is ranked 11th out of 100. Now, the interesting thing about research is that it's really not so much about the research, but how we use the research to improve the lives of people in our community and elsewhere. And so I'd be happy to come back and talk about that. We're fundamentally committed to collaboration as a public university, and that collaboration most recently has taken the form of the creation of a new life sciences alliance with our partner FAU, with Florida Gulf University, the idea being to bring together those public and private organizations in Southeast Florida and Southwest Florida that are focused on the life sciences to promote collaboration and efficiency and to ultimately create better jobs for the citizens of our community. On accountability, Mr. Chair, we are obsessed with graduation rates and retention rates. We think they are important indicators of our success. We also pay a great deal of attention to licensure, and we're very proud of the fact that our College of Law had the highest bar passage rate of any law school in the state in the most recent round, and we're working on licensure performance, for instance, in physical therapy and occupational therapy that haven't been as high as we like. I do have some recommendations. I'll be happy to share those with you at the appropriate moment. In sum, we get it. Our diversity enables us to do a lot of things that ultimately U.S. universities will have to do because their demographics are going to look exactly like ours over the next 2 decades. Thank you. STEM. FIU is the largest producer of minority STEM graduates in the United States, and we aim to keep our leadership in that. Now, clearly, that's in part just simply a function of our demographics, but as well, there have been some very significant and intentional efforts to improve STEM education. Let me say first and foremost that in a metropolitan area, the truth is we won't get as far as you would like for us to get in STEM if we don't pay strict attention to the pipeline. And so therefore, we have spent a lot of time with the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. There are 51 public high schools to begin with in Miami-Dade County. And we have expanded significantly dual enrollment into those high schools. In fact, we are now the state's largest public university offering of dual enrollment. We went from about less than 500 students 3 years ago to now over 3,200 students are in dual enrollment. And the superintendent credits us with helping to ensure that Miami-Dade County Public High Schools, none of whom had an F score in the most recent evaluation. We're very proud of that. So we're very intentional in deepening our partnership with the high schools in the community. The challenge on STEM, Mr. Chair, in that domain is this, that while high school leadership recognizes that they have to do a lot better in preparing students who will then go on to college, particularly in the sciences, particularly in biology and chemistry, most of our high schools do not have laboratories or instructors who will qualify to teach dual enrollment courses. So even though there may be students who could learn from and get involved in the sciences before they get to our university, the high schools simply do not have the capability to do that. Therefore, we're working with the Dade County Public Schools to make sure that when laboratories are retrofit, that they are retrofit to enable dual enrollment to occur. Now, some of you might ask the question, well, yeah, but why couldn't those eligible high school kids come to the university to take their science classes? And indeed, many of them do. But particularly in the low-income areas of Miami-Dade County, where some of our most promising but lowest performing high schools are, there's no transportation for those kids to get to our schools. And so therefore, the students who could help us to build that pipeline are there. The ones who are eligible, who would like to be taking STEM courses are there, but they have the inability to take advanced courses at the high school level because of the absence of teachers and the absence of laboratories on one hand, or their inability to get to our university, one of our 2 campuses, to take courses because of the absence of transportation. And so therefore there's a significant bottleneck that we have to address in a systematic way across time, K through 12, working with the public universities if we're truly going to have an impact upon STEM, particularly in the metropolitan areas. At the university itself, I'm very proud to tell you that our faculty get it, and they've taken responsibility for reforming their curricula. And one of the major drivers, one of the major features of that reform, particularly in the science areas, is that they are insisting that there be more peer-led teaching. And they're asking students who get it to help fellow students learn. And so therefore, as a consequence, for instance, in the physics department, the number of majors that we have has gone from about 10 to 130, which is unbelievable that in a physics department there would be 130 majors. In biology, we found significant learning gains as well as in chemistry. And the nice thing about this is that it does align, because it does align with national priorities, we are able to bring in federal resources to help us, as well as some state resources. So we're beginning to see results there. But my point is that it's got to be grassroots in the school system on one hand, and then the paradigm shift, the urgency has to begin with the faculty, and we're finding that that has taken place. Now, the other issue is, are there jobs? And the truth of the matter is, only 3% in Dade County, if you look at the occupational data, only 3% of all jobs are in the STEM area. So the end result is that we're seeing that we're beginning to export talent, students who are capable, who do have skill sets, who we'd like to keep in the state, who are leaving. I was in Dallas last week to start an alumni association, alumni chapter in Dallas. The first person I met was a computer scientist who said he loves to come back. He'd like to come back, but he did not find jobs in South Florida, and so therefore he went to Dallas to work in that marketplace. So in the end, I'd like to think that we will have to have a much better dialogue with the private sector in terms of job creation, and we're going to have to be far more bullish and aggressive to insist that we find ways to make sure that our STEM graduates get jobs, or we'll find that all we're doing is, I think we're going to be successful. I do believe we get it, and I'm speaking now for the system, but the challenge is, what do we do with the graduates once they get their degrees?